Oh, shit. Cass is stripping it down. Damn, I think we were about to get a classic Cass intro. I still want it. That was good. You were about to just like take the initiative and start this thing and initiate the process.
Oh, we're coming to you from Los Angeles.
Yeah. Live from Los Angeles. It's the Very A podcast starring Mayor Cass and Sean, Trinity Infinity. Here in the beautiful neighborhood of Atwater Village. Lovely fucking neighborhood.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Yeah.
We've been coming to LA for how many years? Like 10 years now, like trying to escape the winter. And then this is our first time in this neighborhood. And we're like, ooh, this is nice. You can walk around and see all these sweet houses. And
I'm becoming such a dad that doesn't have kids. I appreciate, like Mercy. It's the funniest fucking thing. Like, I appreciate, I'm like, whoa, look at that house, that nice driveway.
Yeah.
Look at these perennials.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we never get to see anything like that in New York.
Yeah, no.
People spend so much time on their front gardens here. It's so fun to go walk around. Or don't spend so much time on their front gardens and see all the biodiversity. And I was so excited to see cactuses. I feel like I haven't seen a cacti in years.
Yeah.
And hibiscus trees. And, all the different botanicals have been really, really refreshing.
You guys are insane, like, being able to even say, like, oh, that's a hibiscus tree. I don't know fucking anything.
Well, I tattoo,
plants.
so of course I know botanical stuff.
Yeah.
And I also, that this lady, my godmother, was a florist, and in high school and in middle school, like right when I got sent, right when I moved to Houston from London, I worked for her as a florist.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. That was like when I went to school, I did that sometimes after school with her.
Oh, that's a cool gig.
Yeah, we would go into different law offices that were our clients, or just we had this country club that we did. We had all different ranges of people, small food shops that we'd come in and do bouquets for. Anyway, so that's how I learned a lot of botanicals.
And Cass, I think her and her mom were just very good about exploring the woods around where she grew up. And
yeah,
she was always good about pointing out what's what. And
Yeah.
I retained very little of it. So
yeah. My parents never taught me anything. It's so weird. I think about it now, my relationship with them now, you guys see how it is.
Yeah.
That's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
It was never like, oh, here's a good bit of information to impart on Sean.
Yeah.
They never even told me what the fuck was going on. We have another podcast we're going to put out on patreon.com/churchofchill where we talk about our school experience.
Oh, yeah.
No one told me what school was or why I was going there. That would have helped so much.
But your parents did tell you that homework is bullshit, which we talked about.
Yeah,
which
that's cool.
That's a good part of information and part on you.
I guess. To have your parents be like, yeah, homework's bullshit, but you have to do it anyway. It's such a confusing thing.
Yeah, that's true. Conflicting.
But, yeah, we're here, and we came out here to just, kind of refresh our souls post-COVID and get some fresh air, get some sunlight, get some exercise, be around. It seems like we have a lot more friends out here than anywhere.
For sure, yeah. LA is definitely popping with the homies. Yeah, no, it's been the needed refreshment, and it's also been really hard, and I think part of that is just realizing that you can't escape the shape of space-time, whatever it is, however tight it is, wherever you go, there you are.
Damn, Mara, I thought you were going to fucking give us some tricks to escape the shape of space-time.
Okay, well,
that's what I was
going
to bring up. I'm like, why the fuck? How is this possible that we came out here and we wasted a week of our 2 weeks, just
I think
being Ugh.
I think part of it is the shape of space-time, but you can't also discount the attachment. We're like, oh shit, this might not be the most convenient time for us to be out here. What are we doing? And we need to make the most of it. And then you have all this tension about it. And we're supposed to be doing a podcast every day. So once you miss one day, you're feel like a piece of shit. And then you end up missing 3 other days.
Yeah, definitely. But if it wasn't those circumstances, it would be others that were causing us suffering. As I was telling you yesterday, that for you and I, there's no way that this time right now isn't going to have the conversation of how relationships affect career, because that happens to be where the tension is happening for us.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, it's the feeling of powerlessness recently, right? The feeling of lack of freedom, but all of that's totally an illusion, and it's we did those mushrooms and popped out of it, and you realize how free you are, and that you can make all the decisions you want to be making, and that anything that you're blaming on other people is really just you giving your power away, that's been a huge part of this week. And attachments, I feel like that's so much of what the suffering has been around, letting go of attachments and realizing you have them.
Yeah, not feeling free seems to be a big one for me. Like
Yeah.
as the root cause of a lot of the agita that you guys see expressed, which is a fucking nightmare. I understand. Like I'm a total fucking nightmare when I'm going through mental health shit. So
Everyone is.
Yeah, we all are.
And so it's so funny because it like ping pongs between us all. Like we try to have our mental health shit at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like when somebody has enough upset, there isn't enough room for it. So you sort of like let it bounce around or whatever. But it's also like we were talking about, such a forest fire when you invest in fear and these negative things. You invest in them, and then people around you can't help invest in them, and then all of a sudden you're in a whole horror film you didn't even know about that you wrote and cast and directed.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's been really hard. I had like one of my lowest moments ever this week here, and you really took me aback just by reminding me that we always have our hardest moments before enlightenment, and that's really what all of this is about.
I mean, I think a lot of people fancy themselves wanting to have enlightenment, but they don't think about like the moments before that takes place.
It's excruciating.
It's probably the most excruciating shit a human could go through.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I saw recently, like, there's no enlightened beings, there's enlightened moments. And that's kind of like what happens, like, when you do the mushrooms or whatever, you get to, like, pop out and have an enlightened moment. It doesn't make you an enlightened being. You just get to be part of the expression of that moment of, like, grace and understanding.
Well, the mushrooms what saved our life just now. And I guess it came right at the right time, We avoided it for a couple days. We're like, oh, I don't know. We're sensitive. We're fragile. We're like fighting and not getting along. And like, we needed to just take those mushrooms. It's fucking so simple. Like, I hate to reduce it down to that, but like, it just takes you out of your bullshit. It just took you, for me, like, I don't know. I just took 2 grams and it was just like fucking just mellowed the whole situation. It just a message of like, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. And, keep on keeping on. Like, it's all good, It also just, like, taps me into appreciation for what's going on and not focus on what's not happening for me, When I can pop into, like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm alive. I'm here in LA in a nice house with 2 beautiful women who love me, I can start to, like, pull in the evidence for why I should turn it around, but sometimes it's really fucking hard and you need the assistance of a mushroom, and that's kind of what I did.
Yeah, we were talking about whether we would do mushroom or acid, and it's like it was a no-brainer because at least they've done the studies where a mushroom trip can like lead to reduced depression and anxiety for like 6 months or something crazy. So it was like, all right, we're in the shit right now. If we're going to do something, we should do something that's like proven to help people alleviate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I trust mushrooms as medicine. More than maybe anything. And acid definitely feels like you need to have your own ground to stand on to party with that.
Yes. Yeah. You already have to have some ground to stand on.
Yeah. Well, because you're in the driver's seat of that one. With mushrooms, you really are kind of held, and sometimes she holds you in an uncomfortable way, but there is some sort of like a safety about that, being with another consciousness that's so high frequency and intelligent.
My last 2 bigger mushroom trips, I've gone in with an attitude of like, I really need this right now. I'm not going to be a little brat about it or a bitch. And it's calmed my nerves to a place where like, I was not nervous at all the other day.
That's cool.
And the time before that, which was with Robert, that crazy, Soma, death by Soma experience, same thing. Like my heart did not skip a beat, even though I knew I was getting involved with some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's, again, like an acceptance. It's like the mushroom can feel that.
Yeah.
Because just when we even... When Isaac suggested like, oh, we're gonna trip together, let's take some mushrooms. Like when I agreed to it, I started feeling better.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
The second I agreed to it, everything just started calming down. And then you take them, and it offers you a feeling of connectedness, and I don't know what else can do that besides kind of what we were talking about before, people. Just community and surrounding yourself with people, and that seems to be the antidote to feeling alone in your depression and anxiety, and like no one will understand. Like all you got to do is just hang out with your friends and ask how they're really doing, and you'll find out you ain't alone,
Yeah.
That's definitely been a theme lately, is like seeing the reflections of like, oh shit, like someone else is having a hard time. Like it's not just us, you know. We're like, this is kind of just like this very dense moment, it seems.
Yeah.
Or it was, hopefully. And there'll be more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they pass, you know, this like overwhelming dread or fear or anxiety. It's like it kind of feels like so unbearable. So when it feels so unbearable, it feels real and it feels permanent, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, we got out of Mercury retrograde right when we took those mushrooms too.
Oh.
And like, you know, coming to this trip, like I knew Venus in the sky was going to be in detriment and in a not so happy place really until March. She'll really be happy in April, but it's hard to do the balance of like honoring what's happening, but also not leading with fear through your life, you know, and changing your whole life out of nerves, and also knowing that like, even though Venus is in detriment, it's also our savior. Like you said, coming together no matter what is going on with the conversations in the sky is ultimately always beneficial, even if sometimes it hurts a little bit more, you know, maybe there's more miscommunications, more dissonance, but yeah, I think it's definitely, and Aya too, you know, like mushrooms, that's another thing that really can make you feel connected.
Mushrooms?
Aya.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another one that since like Christmas we've been like, we need to do Diamond. Haven't done it yet. So yeah, and you said right when we were healed from Corona, like we should be microdosing mushrooms, and we should have been.
I could feel my body was calling for like, hey, it needs because there's no protocol for COVID. Like you just have it and then you don't, and you're like, hey, that seemed very crazy. It seems like my body might need something. Yeah. You know, and that's what it is. I know I need mushrooms right now. Yeah. And I know I need people. Yeah. And man, I feel 1,000 times better when I get out there and I see the boys and like, you know what I mean? Just like talking to people and getting real. And like, you know what made me feel a lot better, as crazy as it sounds? Like we were hanging out with a big time rock star last night, you know, very, very famous rock star. And he was saying how he took ayahuasca and was having this vision of holding himself and just petting himself and saying like, just basically having himself compel himself to just be better to himself. Yeah. And it blew my mind. I'm like, you're mean to yourself? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I could just sometimes feel alone in that. And like, I know other people struggle with it, but you don't assume somebody who has that kind of career and, you know, like excitement in their life would feel that. But it's really, all the practices start at home. And you and I have been talking about this a lot this week. Like, we need to love ourselves so we can love each other. If we don't love ourselves, it's just never going to get there. You know what I mean? Same thing with forgiveness. If we don't forgive ourselves, we're not going to be able to offer that to other people in a real way. You know, you have to know what it feels like to offer it to yourself. And that's the craziest one. To me, it's easier to offer to other people. Way easier. Same that I know that's you as a Virgo. You know, just like, blame. And that's a lot of also what I've been talking about this week is like, how do we pull ourselves out of a blame and shame cycle? Even if it's just temporary. Like right now, the blame and shame cycle is too much for these 3 sensitive souls. So how do we express ourselves where it doesn't seem like we're blaming and shaming each other? But way more importantly, it's not about like, I'll just blame myself. Like it ain't about that. Like it's about like, no, free yourself so we can all be free. I'll free myself so we can all be free. If you could save yourself, you'd save us all. You know?
No, it's definitely some of my worst moments. Like I feel like the pathway has come from me being like forgiving myself first, and then just like allowing like, oh, maybe you'll forgive me. Like that's your choice. Like you can stay mad at me. I remember I don't even want to talk about this, but I did something really bad to you last year.
Me?
Yeah.
What?
I threw a glass of water in your face.
Oh, whatever.
But you were obviously justifiably very upset, and it was like I had crossed a line, and like I knew I had done something wrong, and I just forgave myself because I was like, what am I gonna do? Like I did it. It's done. I can't undo it. Right. Yeah. You know, and like I think I ultimately, I don't know if I navigated it right, but I gave you all the time you needed to stay like protected or scared of me or upset, and like but just kind of like. The only thing that was keeping me calm was just being like, I did that. Like, let the chips fall where they may right now, because that's something I did and I can't undo.
Acceptance. You're able to get to a place of like good acceptance about it, it sounds like.
Well, and if I know that I don't want to do that, like it's also easier to forgive myself. Like these bad things that I do, I don't want to do.
We're also, I just feel like, in a cultural moment where navigating conflict on any level is just not the name of the game. Warring is the name of the game.
Right.
On every level. Like, that's
Yeah.
what we're doing as a species. It's what we're doing as a country. It's what we're doing in the culture wars. Like, you can just see, it's just like everything becomes a battlefield. And I think that we just have gotten to this place where I just don't think people are learning how to navigate the conflict that's going to inevitably arise from the types of times we're living through. So it's that's really what I've been focused on. Is like, how do I communicate better? How do I offer forgiveness? How do I not retreat into my ego, you know, who wants to protect me at all costs and will say and do anything to do that, to protect from feeling my heart any more hurt. There's a way to do it, you know.
Yeah, no, blame and shame, you're totally right. And I don't know how we kick out of it permanently. You were kind of talking about it being impermanent, but I think we can kick out of it impermanently. I think it's a frequency humans can get to. And just understanding the complexity. Like, for me, it comes down, like, I have to remind myself of the complexity of everything, because once I get into the definitive nature of stuff, it gets really doozy and heavy and complicated.
That's really astute.
Whether it's like the definitive nature of myself, that's like where I go down my deepest, darkest rabbit holes. The definitive nature of a dynamic, a relationship, of time, of human beings, you know? And just understanding it's not one story, it's all of the stories. And the ones that you keep thinking about are the ones that are going to expand, you know? And I had been doing a lot of shitty investments last week. And what I was thinking about, you know, just like a lot of really shitty investments that I got broke on, you know, I went emotionally broke on.
but if it's the environmental stress that causes us to evolve even a little bit, don't you think it was worth it?
Oh, like I'm a totally different person than I was at the beginning of this week.
Me
like,
too.
In the most insane way. Like, I can't even. I went through, crazy portal, fucking fire burning, you know, incineration.
I mean,
resurrection. all of that stuff. It's like, I had to come to a place of realizing you keep thinking that you're in a better place than you are, and all these old patterns that you think have gone away, that you've burned away, you know, have to have their last rearing of heads, you know, in this extreme way, so that you can really point them out and siphon the energy away.
I love the metaphor of a wildfire. You know, it starts as something so simple, and then it grows. But I do think that there's a way, and you know, forest fires, like, we have such a, like, oh God, no, like, they're necessary for the evolution and the growth and expansion of the forest. A lot of times what we can do as humans is have a controlled forest fire. And I feel like that's what you're inviting in with Aya and mushrooms, is what, you know, it's like, it's they're there to protect you. So you can kind of just do that controlled burn. So it can safely do it. So, you know, it lessens the chances that it turns into the wildfire that ends up spreading to your friends and fucking neighbors and everyone involved in your life.
Yeah, there is a balance, right? Like, you have a fear, you feel like it's really real, and you want to you share it with someone, and then the consequences of you sharing that fear are, like, you can't necessarily control the consequences because it's fear. And if you think, well, I'm justified in being scared, I'm going to share my fear with you, and then you're going to make me feel better without getting scared yourself, it's kind of like, doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. I wish it did.
I wish it did.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes like Cass can hold incredible space, and I'm like, here it is, and it's just like, because you've done the work. But yeah, it is one of those things. You really don't know what's gonna be the fucking tinderbox of someone's soul and just light them up. Like, you don't know. Like, you know, it's funny. Like, we were having a conversation the other day, and Mary's like, I'm gonna tell you something. You promised you won't overreact. And I'm like, yeah, but how the fuck could I? How could I promise? You don't know if that's the spark that lights my fucking, you know, wildfire. And I don't think we should be precious about that. Like, I think we should learn how to navigate stuff and learn how to hear things, and not do the thing that our culture is doing right now, which is like, oh, you can't handle it, we'll get rid of it. No, like, that ain't what life's about. Life's about in and through, you know? And it fucking sucks sometimes. I'm not going to say last week didn't suck, but it was worth it because I feel like the past couple days have been awesome. You know, yesterday was awesome. And I've just felt great all day. And it's like the mushrooms came in and gave us some much needed solace, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's like the fear resonance too, because I think everyone's capable of maybe holding up some fear for a friend if it's not like relative to the fear they have in their life too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's also a fear in you and somebody says it, you're like, oh shit.
Hadn't thought of that one.
It has been rolling around the closet, hasn't it? You know, like, and yeah, like how to not be triggered, how to hear somebody and not be triggered. It's all, I guess it's all detachment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's mindfulness on every level. It's like
Right.
mindful about how you present your fears. It's mindful about the time you decide to present your fears. It's like there's certain things that you can do to be more mindful, and then just like also asking like, hey, are you able to hear this right now? Like, are you like, where are you at right now? Because I have some stuff that I need to work through, and acknowledging like, oh, this is a fear, and I know that this is a fear, and I'm not asking you to hold it as something that I'm attached to or serious about, but I am going through something, and rather than, because this is what I've found, like, I feel like you guys and me are in a different end of the spectrum, like, or I don't know, I'm not even going to judge, because I'm just saying, sometimes I just want to like hide. If I feel like I have a fear bubbling up, like I'll just like hide and like try not to like make it anyone's problem, because I've had that forest fire happen before. It's too many times where I'm like, all right, just like hold it in. But then you can feel that, and then I don't get to work through it with you guys, which is like part of the process, you know, is us all working through certain things together when fears like involve
Right.
stuff with us. So I don't know, it's a balance, and there's no like perfect way to do it, it seems like, but definitely learning what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like didn't sleep the other night, and I woke up and I had some fears, and I think you guys held really good space for me for that, you know what I mean?
I feel like when someone doesn't sleep, it's like kind of like all bets are off. It's almost like an emergency situation. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, whatever the thing is we could get into, let's not, because it just has to do with lack of sleep right now. At least with me, like it's a very, very sensitive subject, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can like, you can pinpoint things to like, oh,
I didn't eat.
I didn't eat.
I
I'm
didn't
hungry. I'm tired.
Yeah. I wasn't using my practices to keep my fucking mellow life going.
No, and that's where I think that we've consciously and decided to be in like, we're not going to lie, like a 3-person relationship, like a 2-person relationship's intense. A 3-person relationship is more intense. Like, I don't think that's
why we're doing it.
Yeah, I think
right?
we go towards intense things, and we're having like, so it's like, okay, this is like part of it. And then that's where you get the better highs, and, you know.
It's intensely fulfilling too.
Yeah.
You know, as intense and crazy as it can be intensely fulfilling. I think the highest highs you could ever imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, it's just like, I don't know. It's sometimes I think about it like risk, like the bigger the risk, the bigger the win or whatever. And the risk makes it feel more intense or something, you know,
Yeah.
because there's like more love on the line. I don't even know what it is, but yeah. No, and like more reflection, you know, and reflection in such an intense way, because once you start to be in love with somebody, it feels like they're also partly your reflection, and so you want them to do good, and you have these high expectations for them. And my best friend Monica, shout out to Monica, on the phone with me a couple days ago, said something really astute about relationship, and she was like, you know, your partner's never gonna see you for you, like that's just not a reality of relationship. But the good thing about that is that they usually see a better version of you, and when stuff is good.
Wow, that's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually they're holding up an idealized version of you. And that's why also relationship is so good, because then you get to arrive to this idealized version of yourself that somebody else is holding you to. And sometimes that could be really painful, because you're not quite there yet. You know, you're disappointing this idealized version, and you know you want to be there too, and they want you to be there. And yeah.
And I'm aware of that too with both of you.
Yeah.
So, and I want to live up to it. And when I don't, I'm like, I'm just mortified. It's just the most embarrassing thing when I'm like, damn, I know they think I'm really cool, I wish I could just be really cool. Like, fuck. You know, it's really crazy. But yeah, I agree. And doing it with three people, and you know, I get to see two people reflect back to me that I'm cool, is like really builds my confidence a lot. I don't know if it's a false sense of confidence, but it's a beautiful thing to like see.
It's
like,
balanced by when two people who you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, which is great because it just kind of forces my hand. Like that's what something like this is doing, especially with, you know, it's not like we're just doing a 3-person relationship. We're doing a 3-person relationship where we're like hanging out all the time. I feel like it forces your hand on like kind of like accountability. It's just like, are you gonna be a fucking maniac, or like are you gonna come back home to the sweet thing that we've been building, you know? And when two of us decide to be maniacs, it's out of control. But for the most part, it's usually just one maniac at a time.
Yeah.
And that's made this sustainable.
Well, yeah, I think I don't remember who, but I saw like they were like the trick to staying married a long time is that we didn't want to get divorced at the same time.
Ooh.
You know,
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
we never wanted to get divorced at the same time. So like I think that's kind of the case in the 3-person relationship too, is that like if one person is like having a hard time, the other person's like, this is awesome, and why are you not seeing that, you know? And it's kind of like makes it
Yeah.
easier to navigate because it's not, I don't know, it's like less tumultuous in some ways because those moments of like, oh, this isn't working, you need 3 people to agree that it's not working, you know?
Yeah, that's tougher to do than get 2 people to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if one person doesn't agree, this also needs to be honored.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like a wrangling situation. It's everybody's got to want it, it doesn't work situation.
Yeah, but that's what like fears can happen where you're like, this isn't working, you know? And you're like, okay, are we going to just, to what degree do we honor that fear? Like, of course, like if someone's like, this is not working, we're like, okay, this isn't working. But then it's when you then are looking at 2 people who are like, but it is working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think of it as a beautiful thing.
Oh,
you know?
definitely. Yeah, it's kind of a microcosm for like society and civilization. It's like you're really only as good as the worst person's doing. Like that's how I always feel. Like anytime I hear about American exceptionalism, I'm like, our prisons are filled and there's 600,000 people sleeping on the streets. Like we're not doing good.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
You know? And it's the same thing in this. Like if you're down in the dumps and doing shitty, like Cass and I have no business going through our day like it's fucking normal. Like we just don't. Like we have to help you. I just think that's what we're here to do, is serve. And we forget that when you get into the consumerist mindset. And we can treat relationships in the consumerist mindset. You know, like, oh, this product has gone bad. Bye. You know, like, no, you're not a product. You're a human being. Like things change. And like, you know, I feel like that's always something like when we start getting into it, that's like immediately it's just like, let's just take off the table. Like no one's going anywhere. Let's just chill out. One of us is having a low moment, and it's hard for any of us to proceed until we get to higher ground. And I think we're getting good at developing more tools how to get back to higher ground, or just knowing like, oh, I know where this leads. This leads to the fucking pits of hell. We're not going down this path.
Yeah.
We need to get ourselves to higher ground, and usually, thank fucking Christ, one of us knows how.
Yeah.
And whether even it's just sometimes it's just one of us suggesting like, do a little ketamine or take a mushroom or something like that. Something that can just break that feeling, you know, dust out those cobwebs that are in your mind that are trying to form into a more a stronger network of beliefs about yourself, and like you just can't let it go there. That's the stuff that depression is made of, and you really have to, with your day-to-day practices and maybe with a psychedelic practice, figure out how to not let those cobwebs like bundle up and form, you know, these really crazy tight cords of like depression and anxiety that I feel like most people are going around with and pretending not to, and it kind of compounds the issue. And you can really feel it with some people. I could feel it with myself. That's the only reason I could recognize it with some people. But there's ways of going about kind of just dissipating those feelings and at least very temporarily coming to the other side of it where you can then do something about it. So I feel like that's what the mushrooms did for us. And it wasn't intellectual. It wasn't like I'm sitting there tripping like, oh, I shouldn't say that kind of thing to Mare because it leads to, it wasn't like trolling myself or anything. It was just like full body and mind, just like, it's okay. Just feeling part of everything again, connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Raise your frequency enough so you can get your head above water a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm great when my head's above water. I really am. I really am. But if someone's head is below water, I can't help but go there. It's why I fixate on our prison population and the homeless. I can't not think about those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I can't be like this type of person. Like somehow Joey keeps finding these girls that are like on the first date, like, I fucking hate homeless people. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Disassociation, a lot of disconnection.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just not like that, and I think that selfishly leads to me being more in touch and in tune with things that I possess, because we are the homeless population, we are the imprisoned population, we are the starving masses.
Yes.
So to deny that and otherize that is to deny and otherize something that you are.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like part of my work here is to fucking acknowledge that stuff and go in and through it and do my best to, do what I can to help. And that's usually by raising my frequency and evolving my consciousness to a place where I don't think they deserve it, and then speaking to it, and maybe that can remind other people.
Yeah.
Because it's in all of us, and it doesn't take much convincing with most people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that no one belongs in prison, and no one belongs on the streets. No one belongs in death row. No one belongs in fucking handcuffs in the back of a car for some bullshit.
Yeah, people are really on a harsh trip, about themselves, and then that projects out onto other people.
Yes, that's what it is.
I was on the phone with my mom, and she was just talking about how hard she is on herself, too, and how hard her father was on himself, and that it just seems like a genetically passed down thing of our family, and that just we kind of wanderlusting about, like, what if we were in a different culture, in a totally different space, like in India, and our family had different values where, chill was the priority and love was the priority, and it wasn't about, success and productivity in a very reductive sense of that meaning, and I guess it also just more feminine energy, more of the acceptance, more of the softness, more of the trusting, and less of the imposing will on other people. Because that's what all of this like imprisonment stuff is, that this moral high ground, the idea that one intelligence could possibly have a better idea of what's going on for another intelligence, which is absurd because, of course, we all live in our own realities, and they happen to be connected and affecting each other. But this righteousness, this moral high ground. And that's like the trip you get on even when you're mad at yourself.
It's all the same fucking thing. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm just kind of realizing this now, as we're talking about it. It's really wild. The being so hard on ourselves and having basically the religion of this country is capitalism and productivity.
Yes. Yeah.
And we don't have, like the Indians have, like a rich, deep, thousands of year old spiritual tradition, that we can turn to deities and say, oh God, you're being like this right now. And, you got to pray to this God right now. We don't have that. We're a young democracy on stolen land, and we have yet to find our soul here. And I was saying this to you yesterday. I'm like, in order for it to not be the end of America, and this just us, we just fucking blew this thing up so quickly. If maybe we are at the beginning of a young democracy that could last a long time, we need to figure that part out. We need to have a value system that isn't just based on how much money you can go get and what your labor's worth. We need to have a real value system.
Yeah.
And we don't, and that's never taught to anyone. And instead, we're just indoctrinated with a way of spending our life and just convincing us that, like, oh, you should. Who do you want to exploit your labor for the rest of your life? And it's just a reductive way of looking at life. And there's just so much. There's so much more going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, hopefully the decentralization and cryptocurrencies can actually help some of this stuff. And that's what a lot of the philosophy around it is about, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just decentralizing the controlling forces.
Yeah. Decentralizing the controlling forces. I mean, it kind of democratizes value in general when you decentralize it. Becomes more accessible to people because it's less of a pyramid scheme and there's less gatekeepers that are telling you can and can't come out in the entrance door, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I know it's sore subject, but it's what's happening with Spotify and Joe Rogan and all this stuff, you know? It's very, very interesting times because there's just a massive changing of the guard happening on every level.
Changing of the guard is a perfect way to say what's happening on a spiritual level too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're freaking out and we're taking our problems out on the people that are leading the new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll be attacked left and right. You'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about cryptocurrency and what it's going to do culturally and socioeconomically and everything. And I'm also really excited about the AI revolution. I think there are moments when I've been a little bit afraid about it, but I really do think this issue of labor and humans laboring, like we're past the point in evolution of laboring and no human should be laboring. And like we saw this little cigarette stand driving around yesterday. It was like the size of a closet. And I was just like mortified about the idea that a person was manning the stand all day, just like locked in this tiny little closet to tell people to go tobacco. It should be a vending machine, you know what I mean? And we do have the technology that robots can take over, I think, most of the jobs. And we need to get universal basic income in all the houses and understand that, human... None of us chose to be born and we're here, and therefore, you know, there's things at which we should have a right to have so that we can have a decent life. And not even a decent life. It's not even really about like a moral thing. It's also just like, you know, all of these oligarchs, people want people to be productive, and the way that you get people to be productive and innovative is give them space to be creative, and you can't have space to be creative if you're beholden to labor all the time. And so I see this really beautiful thing happening maybe in the future where this universal basic income comes in, and all of these technologies that we're really excited about, suddenly people have the brain space to explore.
Well, yeah, and right now we're so distracted so many hours of the day that creativity doesn't go anywhere. What it does is it gets channeled into stories of anxiety and depression, and it's just mischanneled creativity a lot of the time. And I'm saying that because that's the case with me. I'm an extremely creative person. Everyone is. If I don't have something to do, if I don't have something to pour that into, it's going to get poured into stories of negativity and just the capitalist mind trap of comparing yourself to others and feeling like you're in scarcity and you haven't done enough and you're past your prime, like all this shit. It's like we're fucking gods. We are the sons and daughters of immortality, and we will return to that thing.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we're here temporarily to learn some karmic lessons and evolve this thing. And we'll waste our time fucking getting exploited by Jeff Bezos. Like, come on. You know, we can do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like the Jeff Bezos thing, I always think about like, why do I keep supporting him? Because I do sometimes still get stuff from Amazon.
It's hard not to.
But the convenience that he's sold, because that's really what he's selling, right? And it's like, it makes sense because we want more time to be creative.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, fuck Jeff and fuck all the billionaires, but at the same time too, like, yeah.
Well, I think we're in this, like, we talk about this modern day king thing where we're in this place where more profits are possible because of technology, but instead of the profits being spread out among the people who are doing the work, it's going to the person, the CEO at the top, you know? And it's just like, kind of, that's where there needs to be the mass resistance is like, oh, this is, or some way of redistributing the wealth to the people, where it's like, Sean, you talk a lot about like co-owning things, like that workers should have an opportunity to own the business, be part owners in what they're working towards.
Absolutely. And it's something that I would have thought that a worldwide pandemic that's caused millions of deaths would usher in, like of course we have to, all right, we got to nationalize the payroll. Like, how is that not the first thing that this country did when the pandemic happened? Like, we're nationalizing the payroll. No one owes their workers money. We'll pay them whatever you were paying them. We'll take the hit for now. just stay at home. Just stay at home. You know what I mean? How is that not like the first fucking thing? How is national health care not the first thing you have to be like, okay, the jig is up.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way we're going to stop this thing if people can't go get preventative help. If people are scared to go to their doctor, you know, I think I've had COVID twice. I haven't gone to a doctor. I don't know how I'm doing, really. I mean, I can listen to my body, and I've become less reliant on that system and more reliant on my own instincts, which is ultimately a good thing. But
yeah, they don't have all the answers.
No. But a lot of times they do have the life-saving thing, you know, for someone who's in poor health to begin with, and you know, most people here are because of our labor practices.
Everybody needs healthcare for sure.
Yeah.
I am
It's one of the universal things that needs to go out. Yeah.
Education, healthcare, shelter,
Yeah.
and income.
Yeah.
Like if those things aren't provided, the system is going to produce the prison population we're seeing and the mass suffering we're seeing, 100,000 fentanyl deaths, 600,000 homeless people. That it's going to produce those things, and we'll let the media jerk us around like, oh man, how did this happen? No, it's exactly what the system is designed to do, you know? So just be aware of that.
Oh yeah, I can't help but think right now, like I was just talking to a friend the other day, and this is kind of off topic, but it's current, is like, he had lumps and he didn't go to the hospital because of COVID, and it just has moved to his lymphatic system and just is not looking good. And it just, every day we're going to hear more and more stories about people who are not able to deal with their health because of, I don't know, a lot of reasons, I guess.
Well,
right now.
and he didn't not only get help because of COVID and our healthcare system being overwhelmed.
Right.
He didn't get help because he didn't have health insurance.
Well,
and now he just had to get a job that provides health insurance, and he's basically on a 30-day countdown till it kicks in.
Till he can go to the doctor.
Till he can go to the doctor, which is way too late.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Yeah. And Joe Biden has the gall to tweet out yesterday, we can solve cancer. Okay. Who's that going to be available to? Your cure for cancer. Who's that going to be available to? And also, the cure for cancer is good health, preventative measures, and a better diet. Like, it's, you know, the root cause.
What do you mean cure cancer? Like, stop putting chemicals in our food?
Stop stressing us out. Yeah, like
stop poisoning us.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a highly profitable medical solution. It's going to be a highly profitable medical solution.
They already cured that shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they cured HIV a while ago, too.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
only for the rich people.
Well, I mean, remember we were saying the other day, like, there's a vaccine for Lyme disease? Like, Lyme disease ruins people's life.
That blew my mind. I know.
And there's a vaccine for it. It just wasn't going to be profitable.
Vaccine
there was.
that they
But they de-invested in or something.
Yeah, this was like years ago. And
interesting. Because it seems so rampant.
It is.
It is. Well, in the Northeast, we live in the Northeast, so I'm pretty sure.
It feels like, knock on wood, but it feels like a matter of time. You know, you got to be like where we grew up and where we spend so much time. It's like there are these minuscule things. Like, you literally have to like check your entire body anytime you go outside.
I had a tick on my ass for like a week after space camp. I live with two women. We see each other naked all the time, and I was just like, wait, what is this? And you just like look a little closer. You're like, there's a fucking tick in there. And thank God it was in North Carolina. I don't think those ticks are as weaponized by the CIA. But Google that. So yeah, I've gotten away with a few tick bites lately that didn't lead to anything else. But it's my worst nightmare because it really is. Because I mean, I haven't gone to a doctor in 10, 12 years, and it's hard not to when stuff like that starts happening.
But even that, it's like, it's hard.
They don't do anything.
It's hard to have, like, that's the one that the alternative medicine, the doctors, there's no, like, easy, quick fix, or it's very unclear. So it's just, like, one of those, be careful out there.
Yeah, Lyme disease. Joey has it?
Peach.
I think Joey might have had it.
Oh, yeah, Joey's had it. Yeah.
No, I know Peach has it.
Yeah. Yeah, Maddie has had it a couple times.
Maddie.
Yeah.
Wow, so many people.
So many people. The list goes on.
On the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you might not even know if you have it. It's like crazy.
I had a special moment. Maybe it was in North Carolina. No, maybe it was on my road trip to Georgia, where I just like reached my hand back on my head and just like felt a tick like on a piece of my hair.
Jesus
My
Christ,
hand just
man.
knew where it was or whatever.
What the
I
hell?
was like,
Crazy.
That's good.
Holy shit.
But I don't think I've ever been bitten by one. There was one on Mowgli's face when I went on that road trip, but it was only on there for like 1 second. I let him out to pee, came back.
So it didn't get
looked at me, and I was like,
engorged
"What
or
the
whatever.
hell?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get them with the first 24 hours or something.
Yeah. Okay, gross. Let's stop talking about ticks.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
Ew.
Yeah.
I once had to pull like 5 out of Sean's butt crack.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're
You
passionate
guys said
lovers.
asshole. You didn't say crack. It was more explicit when you
It was in
told
the
me.
asshole.
Yeah.
Just admit it.
I was.
I
I
mean,
was
this
trying to
is, we were young, passionate lovers, and we just had sex in like the
The lawn.
outside in a lawn, and didn't think about it until like 2 days later. And I'm seeing ticks on Cass's leg, and then we start finding them on me, and then it's just like
I think
Cass was
between
just
us, we've had like 13 ticks on us or
yeah.
something.
She's like, I gotta look in your ass, and I'm like, fuck, and she's like, lo and behold,
Oh my god.
There were
I don't know.
like 4 or 5 in there.
yeah, really,
Not like inside the asshole.
nasty business.
I didn't even check in there. Hopefully, there's not one in there.
These nasty little fuckers, you know, what the hell they want from us? They need a host.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a host. We are the ticks of this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. One day this planet's just gonna shake it off. They're just gonna fucking shake us off like lice.
Like a Taylor Swift song.
Oh, is there a Taylor Swift song like that?
It's a Taylor Swift song called Shake It Off.
Shake, shake, shake it off. Is it like that?
I'm sure.
I'm just making that up. I don't think I've ever
It's
heard a
pretty
Taylor
close.
Swift song.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture. That's Andre 3000, though.
Yeah, Outcast.
That's actually good.
Yeah, Outcast is great.
Yeah.
I passed him on my street once in Soho.
Oh yeah, Andre 3000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, they're underrated somehow. You know,
Are they?
Outkast. Well, I think so. Yeah, kind of.
I was just, they were so popular in the South, so.
Yeah, you were immersed in it.
They were like,
But I love them. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I think they have some of the 2 best voices in like rap and hip hop too. You know, beyond them being so incredibly talented. One of those albums, Andre played like every instrument on.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, the song "Hey Ya," he plays every instrument.
Oh yeah.
I had they were like some of my first CDs,
Yeah.
and there were naked ladies on the CD. So I
Yeah.
like took those white CD cover things where you can like decorate your own CD, and I would cover them because I'd be like, this is inappropriate, but I love
That's
the
funny.
music.
Cass was a puritanical youth.
Well, I didn't want my parents going through my CD book
Yeah,
and seeing
yeah.
like Spread Eagle with naked ladies or
Yeah,
whatever they
it's
were.
So wild.
It's like, I'm gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you also like feel like, oh, I could never say the word bitch, or like you kind of have this, I'm a good girl and I'm gonna be good. And I think of that. Like I remember once saying to my mom, like, Mom, you raised me so good, I don't even curse. And the look she gave to me was kind of disgusted. You know what I mean?
Your
Like,
mom's so funny.
because I was like telling her that I'm so good, and she's like disappointed. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
remember that kind of vividly.
That's so your mom.
Yeah.
Like, oh, don't take off some colors in your palette to be nice and good.
She didn't say that. She was like,
that's-
okay, that's nice, Cass, you know?
I was thinking about that when I was talking to my mom yesterday. I was like, I curse more when I'm on the phone with my mom than anyone. And there was a time, probably till I was like 30, that I never had said a curse word in front of my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm like, I can't help it. Probably because they call me up and make me talk about Joe Biden every day. Like,
You're like, this fucking asshole.
yeah.
Yeah. I like a good curse.
Yeah. Fuck, man. My mom calls me at fucking 10:30 last night, and I was like, I've fucking never talked to my parents after like 8 o'clock at night. They go to bed, and at 10:30, like she's texting me. She's like, "That's it, Sean. I'm done. My family doesn't understand me. I'm done." And I'm like, "What is going on?" I'm calling emergency. Like, call me back. And she calls me back, and like, she's just toasted, watching fucking MSNBC, calling her sisters and her right-wing sisters and saying like, you don't believe January 6th? You don't believe it? And I'm like, it's so sad. It makes me so sad. Like, and then she calls me up thinking like, oh, let's have a conversation about how, you know, your family sucks. Like, why would we want to do that? Because the news jerked us around about January 6th. They're going to jerk you around about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. There will always be a controversial subject to keep the left and the right more and more at odds. And shit, man. She leaves me with no choice. I'm going home and fucking dosing her with a big dose of mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Like, enough's enough. I've told my parents for 6 years, I'm like, you guys, your mental health is going down the drain because you watch too much news. And the news is just about profits. And it's, you don't want to serve those gods by paying them with attention. Because you pay them with attention and you see what happens. Tension. That's what it is. And fucking, it makes me so sad. So I got them microdosing, but it doesn't seem like that's enough to break the Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, the dose. You need to go in and through.
I'm wondering how much to even do, because like I don't want to scare anyone, but
I think you should give him an eighth. You should give her
my
2 grams.
my dad can handle an eighth. No question. I've given him an eighth a bunch of times. Is 2 grams enough to part the fabric of reality for my mom?
Depends on what type of mushrooms.
Depends on what kind of mushroom.
I think that's
some
what you should
envy.
start with, because if it's not, you just go up a dose
Penis
next
envy?
time.
2 grams of penis envy?
Dude,
I
really?
know.
That's what you're gonna do?
I don't know.
I think you should give her one of these.
Oh, whatever this
Yeah.
This like Hawaiian mushroom you have. Super kind.
Yeah.
Those are really kind.
I mean, maybe, and if she says she doesn't feel the penis envies at all, maybe 2.5 or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I really feel the penis envies, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's surprising that somebody who hasn't really had mushrooms in their life doesn't. But, you know, it got me thinking the other day, too, that maybe, like, mushrooms are, like, opposite of cross tolerance. It's like the more you take in, the more mushroom you're made of. And so, like, you need less and less, because I just feel like I keep getting more and more sensitive to mushrooms, you know? Like, I smell them in the next room, and I'm like, am a mushroom.
I know. And, like, even you guys the other day, like, you guys were both fucking flying pretty high. You both had mushroom eyes off not that much. I didn't take that much, and it healed me.
Yeah.
You know, it's
almost like you're closer to that frequency or something, so it takes less to tap into it. You know what I mean? And actually, on top of that data, Johnny was saying, remember that he took, was it a hero's dose or was it
close to?
3.5?
He took an eighth.
Okay, he took an eighth.
And it did nothing.
But he was so upset. He was so low frequency that he like didn't trip at all. That he didn't really even experience.
Very
it.
interesting.
I thought that was really interesting.
That's very interesting. Sure. Because you know, we talk about the power of psychedelics all the time. The one thing that is more powerful than psychedelics is the human ego.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's the one thing that can kind of cut through.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to let it go. Like if Johnny went into that mushroom trip with maybe a very clear-cut intention and told the mushroom, here's what I'm trying to get out of it.
Let me let go.
Yeah, let me let go. That's basically what it comes down to. Like, help me let go.
Yeah, that's what I went into the trip thinking. I just said, please, please, please let me let go.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that means. It's like, you decide, mushroom. Come on.
Come on.
Just help me let go in whatever, in some way. You can decide, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, let me off the hook. Let me let go. Yeah.
Yeah. And it all it does is it's just it connects you more and shows you just such a bigger story that's going on where your previous one seems silly. It seems like you don't want to invest in it anymore, and that's what I'm hoping it can do for my parents. Like, I don't know what they're gonna ask the mushroom for, but I'm asking it to cure them of like some day-to-day addictions that I think are killing them, which is the news and for my dad, tobacco. You know, like, come on, guys, like, they're about to turn 70. They have a disabled daughter. Like, fucking 70 is pretty fucking old. Like, you know what I mean? To be taking care of an epileptic that's flailing all over the place, and like, Caitlin's just hard to take care of in general, even when she's not having seizures. You know, like, she's up and about at 3 a.m. in the kitchen, and you're like, what's going on? You know, and like, you know, sometimes she'll just be back and forth to the bathroom all day, and you're not really sure what the fuck's going. Like, just that she doesn't need. You need to keep your eye on her, and like, my parents can fucking really be far out sometimes, and like not far out, just like almost like too just caught up in media narratives that I'm like, calm the fuck down. And then so Caitlin hasn't had seizures really lately since we gave them the microdoses. We didn't give Caitlin the microdoses, we gave them to my parents. If you don't think Caitlin's responding to the frequency in that house with her seizures to begin with, not saying it's CNN's fault, but a TV on in the background, flashing, going crazy, commercials, loud. Not only a TV, 3 TVs, one in the bedroom, one in her bedroom, and one in the living room, just going all the time. You know what I mean? It's just the frequency of the house, the being angry. I'm angry because the media's gotten me worked up today, and just, I'm fighting with my sisters. Caitlin responds to all this. She's extremely sensitive The first time we ever took LSD, we were 3,000 miles away from her. She had the worst night of her life, seizure-wise. My parents couldn't explain it. And I'm like, I can explain it. She's tapped in. So my parents are taking these microdoses, and Caitlin stops having seizures. Not saying she's not going to have seizures anymore, but I'm saying we introduced an element that I think changed the frequency over there. And
I believe it.
Right? Doesn't that make more sense than anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, they can't explain it.
Well, especially with, seizures.
Yeah. Like, what is a seizure? It's basically like, when someone's schizophrenic or manic or just like, it's just that one tick further to where just you're completely, the brain just scrambles out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 It goes up in the wildfire just takes over for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like extreme openness to me, and like extreme wattage of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can't quite be channeled.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's very exciting, and that gets you kind of like. And did she ever try and take like lion's mane? Just Katie?
Katie takes lion's mane every day.
Okay, cool.
I think, and my parents do, and I think it's kind of what salvaged her from completely going into the dumps.
Okay, yeah, no, I really believe in mushrooms, and yeah, it gets you thinking like, damn, should like Katie take a little bit? But it's like
I think so.
It's so scary, and
yeah,
I think even just riding the excitement of holy shit. We have a variable here that we may be able to control, which is the frequency of your parents, and these mushrooms help that.
Which gives me hope for the eventual caretaker of Katie. I'm
Absolutely.
like, wait, all I have to do is just mellow out.
Yeah.
And it's true,
Yeah.
even if she is having seizures.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point, and I think that's what the mushrooms are offering now to my parents, is a little reprieve so they can figure out who the fuck they are again.
Yeah.
Not just people who chase around an epileptic, but figuring out who they are. And part of my mom calling me drunk last night talking about January 6th is her figuring out who she is, and really more importantly, who she doesn't want to be. Because she doesn't want to be that way. She's crying and saying, I don't know why my sister's being mean to me. She's being mean because liberals are annoying and righteous. She probably doesn't even fucking think about January 6th, or she probably doesn't even have that different of opinions about it than you when it comes down to it. But the liberals are fucking annoying and righteous, and she wants to own one. And it's easier to do it to you than to do it to her daughter. You know what I mean? Because her daughter has some real tools to fucking fight back. And, whatever. Boomers arguing about Trump, I think, is something that we're just going to have to deal with till the boomer generation's gone. I just think they're going to talk about Trump and Hillary for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And it sucks I'm losing my parents to that. And I think the mushrooms might be able to help. Because it's like, I think they're kind of like me, because I came from them.
Yeah.
I feel like when the mushroom hits them, they're going to be like what happened to me. They're going to evangelize for these fucking things. They're going to be a spokesperson for these fucking things. They're going to be trying to help people. So I'm going to hit them with it and say, we're not watching the goddamn news. Or hit them with it and turn the news on.
Stop.
Yo, wouldn't that be fucking great?
It would not.
We'll deal with your addiction right now. Take these mushrooms and we're going to watch Rachel Maddow talk about Russiagate for 4 hours. Yeah. We're going to watch old clips of Rachel Maddow from 5 years ago saying how, we got Trump. He's on the fucking, we got him. And just say, look, you know how none of this came true? It was all about manipulating you the whole time. It was just about keeping you scared and small and not questioning this whole ridiculous system that's depriving you and your daughter of the fucking care you need to help her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's sad when my parents, of all people, get duped, but of course they do because everyone does. It's just like you got to turn off that fucking TV. And for our generation, it's a whole different set of things. It's like you got to fucking turn off Twitter and Instagram and fucking whatever it is, If you can figure out who you are, that's the tune out part of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Turn off the news.
Turn it off. Turn it off. I'll tell you the news. We're all going crazy. That's the news. We're all going crazy, and it's manifesting in different ways. And if you want to have expert storytellers tell you that that this story is more important than whatever the garden you can touch, go turn on the news and get scared about something that's happening, something you can't control. That's what's brilliant about what they do. And that's how they manufacture consent. They get you so worked up about something you could never have a say in, you know? And all the things you could have a say in have gone by the wayside, and you're not doing anything about it because you feel helpless.
Yeah. Well, and even without all of the horrible manipulative propaganda, just the action of reducing life from a 3-dimensional experience and a 5-dimensional, 4-dimensional, whatever, to a 2D picture, that reduction is going to be painful in its perspective no matter what, because it was framed by somebody.
Yes.
And so
And it locks out parts of our humanity.
Exactly. And I like that being the number one way that we're all interfacing now is even why I think so much of this disconnection could be harbored. And at the same time, it's like, I do think humans are becoming better. It's weird.
Yeah, we are.
Like, we are becoming less violent. We are becoming less distorted and more connected.
Less barbaric.
And less barbaric and all of these things. It's just slow.
Very slow.
And we can feel into the future and what it could be.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting we're not there yet.
Yeah. We can feel our alienhood.
Yeah,
you know, that's the crazy thing. When you really, when you take mushrooms, when you go beyond human intellect and thought, you can feel where our evolution is going, and it's creepy. You could feel us earning our alienhood.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we're going through the trials and tribulations that dwellers on the threshold of enlightenment feel, and that's where we could be as a species. You know, and just this very, like we started this thing saying, this very uncomfortable moment before the breakthrough.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope.
Yeah.
If it's possible with me and it's possible with us, why isn't it possible for the whole thing?
Yeah. No, that's what I believe in. And this year is that a final kind of breaking down of this 3-year saga.
Yeah.
For our 2023 rebirth. So.
Hell yeah. Well, this was a damn pleasure. Thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta hold on.
Hold on loosely.
Hold on loosely.
Don't let go.
Don't let go.
Yeah, we'll follow this up on the Patreon with a wild episode we did with Joey the other night. That I didn't know if I was gonna put out, but I think now that we did this, we could put that out. And we recorded that one before this. But it's a really good conversation. I think we all make some good points. We get into it a little bit. It's kind of funny to watch us four come together.
It felt a little raw at moments.
Yeah.
And like, I think.
But I think there was really good stuff in there, and I don't want to deprive the people of it because it's funny. Yeah, ultimately, it's all grist for the mill.
Yeah.
You get to see a little bit more of who we are.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, check that out and support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Church of Chill. It's meant the world to us that people have upped their pledges. We haven't changed it to $5 a month, which could fucking change our life pretty much. We could start to pay our rent. But people have upped their pledge. Well, it's hard to do because I don't know if we raise it to $5 a month, if a lot of people that are paying 2 or 1 are like, this ain't worth it, and I want them part of the community. I'm not trying to shut anyone out, but it's meant the world to us that people are signing up for the first time or upping their pledge.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
We're going to come through with the content. I think we're starting to do good.
That's why we were so hard on ourselves this week. We're like, fuck, people are being so nice to us and we can't get it together.
Yeah, but we needed to go through this, so we had something interesting to bring back. I think this is one of our best conversations the three of us have had on here. So
great.
Yeah, and we've deprived them of Mare for a month now. No one's heard from you. They're probably suspicious. But this is the real Mare. She's okay. Everything's fine. She has a tattoo that hopefully will debut at some point. That you just got your back completely covered in the sickest fucking tattoo of all time. So you're healing now.
Yeah, tattoos are obviously another channel for synchronicity and karma and stuff. And flaming lotuses is kind of like the abstract concept. It's very abstract, like all the tattoos that I have. And the way that ripped through me and brought me to a new space of alienhood was really crazy and really made me believe in tattooing in a deeper way too again, and the sacred nature of it and ripping you out of yourself and yeah, I'm gonna go tattoo some people today.
Hell yeah! And we're gonna go talk to Ramin.
Yeah, I'm really sad I'm gonna miss it, honestly, but you know what I mean. Sending my love to him.
You got to go carve some people up.
I do.
So we'll represent the Trinity Infinity.
Yeah.
For us, but thank you for joining us, Church of Chill. Patreon.com/Church of Chill. Peace, love, and magic.
Thanks, guys.